Laugh all you want, but there be gold in them there boy bands. You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of One Direction, This Is Us.
People started lining up 5 days ago.
The band that lost on the X Factor,
selling out their entire tour in hours.
Because of you, we're #1 in 37 countries.
We never expected any of this to happen.
Jennifer Hudson, Clay Aiken, One Direction, all of them failed to win the reality show talent competitions that discovered them, yet have far outpaced and outgrossed those who did win. In fact, the biggest winner of all is Simon Cowell, the creator and producer of the show that discovered them, X Factor, who went on to sign them to his record label, Psycho Music. By the way, Cowell, a vertical integration genius, finds most of his talent on his reality competitions. But now as Cowell seeks to grow his One Direction fortune, there seems to be enough opportunity for riches to go around. Sony is hoping to have another hit a la Michael Jackson This Is It, while director Morgan Spurlock, yes, the Super Size Me guy, is hoping this gig will help him cross over into mainstream gigs, just as John Chu's work on Justin Bieber Never Say Never made him such a Paramount darling he got the G.I. Joe franchise. But just because Michael, Justin, and originally Miley scored at the box office with their movie music concerts doesn't mean the genre is a slam dunk. Just last year, it really did seem like Katy Perry was singing in her room all by herself, as audiences failed to show up for Part of Me. But at least it wasn't the death knell of her career as it was for the Jonas Brothers back in 2009. To their credit, One Direction has been promoting the hell out of This Is Us, as only a well-oiled machine can. However, will those mechanics make the group seem less authentic when their fans are invited to go behind the scenes? Yes, reality shows and the like are getting sloppier and sloppier when it comes to hiding the fact that most of them are highly orchestrated and not real at all. So in the end, it might just boil down to whether or not fans want to stare at Harry Styles, Liam Payne, Zayn Malik, Niall Horan, and Louis Tomlinson for an hour and a half in 3D. But based on the crowds they've been drawing while promoting the movie, I'd say those odds are pretty good. Morgan Spurlock directed the shit out of this movie. He just did such a good job. I was so impressed. I really think he has a strong chance coming off of this to get the narrative gig I think he's gunning for. Because not only did he do a great job giving you the concert experience, which he enhanced quite well with 3D special effects. Very good 3D film. If you're going to see it, definitely see it in 3D. But he used his documentary skills to kind of go behind the scenes of One Direction and give you a really genuine, honest picture of how Simon Cowell has built this boy band. And I say built in the nicest way, because I think the interesting thing was this film totally admits that this is kind of like a machine, that this is a place and time, that this band realizes that this isn't going to last forever, and that they're just kind of filling a need, that there's always a boy band, and right now it's One Direction. And that was very that was a surprise. I hadn't expected them to be so genuine, and that puts them somewhere in between, I'd say, Justin Bieber and Michael Jackson, which are the two other concert movies I've seen. Now, on the one hand, Justin Bieber, when I watched his concert documentary, he seemed like someone who was very lost, very alone, didn't have a great support system, and really was a little bit difficult to control. And I think we've seen that just exponentially increase as he's gotten older. And then in comparison, One Direction, Simon Cowell should really be commended for taking these teenage boys and really giving them a great support system personally and professionally. They seem very happy. It's very nice. It's almost, I hate to say it, but it's like when you think of like animals in captivity. I think Simon Cowell has built an excellent reserve. And then when you take Michael Jackson, though, when I saw This Is It, it was clear that he was an artist. He wrote his own songs. He really worked hard and rehearsed his stage shows and had wonderful choreography and wanted to make sure everything was perfect for his fans. He had a vision that he wanted to get across. But when you see One Direction, they don't write their own songs, and they don't dance. They hate dancing, actually, and I think their stage show suffers a little bit for it. They basically just stand there and sing, which I thought was an odd choice. I mean, they don't even bring up some backup dancers for them. But I'll get to that in a moment, why I think it ultimately doesn't hurt them. But it was fascinating to kind of see this. And the reason it was also interesting, and that's what I would say about this movie, I would never go and see One Direction on, just on my own if I wasn't going to review it. But I'm kind of glad that I did see it, because as you know, if you watch this channel, I'm really interested in the business side of things, what makes them tick, why? Why is One Direction so successful? And I think this movie partially gave me some answers to that. So even from just a social experiment kind of, angle, this movie was good. I mean, so you could see it. And so my basic advice is that if you're a One Direction fan, you're going to really enjoy it. But if you're not a One Direction fan, if you find yourself kind of having to go maybe, or someone's dragging you, I think you'll be entertained. I think you'll be able to walk away with something very interesting. So anyway, you'll notice that One Direction in the movie doesn't write their own material, and they really have very little to do. You know, they're really chauffeured around, even to recording while they're on tour for their album. They are not masters of their own universe. But that's okay, because that's not their job. At one point in the movie, their manager, or someone who takes their tour manager, says, you might say all this horsing around is unprofessional, but that's just who they are, all this messing around. And I would say it's very professional, because that's what One Direction is supposed to do. They're supposed to just be themselves and interact with the fans. And Simon Cowell takes care of everything else, and does it quite well. And from what I can tell, interacting with their fans is a full-time job, and they do it quite well. They're really nice, and the movie even admits that One Direction is kind of the result of the fans working with Simon Cowell and company to make this phenomenon. When you go to their concerts, it's not so much about listening to One Direction songs, but being a part of an experience and being with all the other fellow fans, and something that you can feel some ownership of because the fans made them so successful, and just having a party. There's a great sequence in the film where they tell everyone to wear orange to one of their concerts, and they tweet it, and they say it on their interviews before, and everyone does show up in orange, and they wear orange suits, and it was so much fun. It was those antics that I think are great, and that's why everyone comes for stuff like that. So One Direction, I think, certainly sets out to do what it achieves. I enjoyed it more than watching the Justin Bieber documentary. I've enjoyed it as much as Michael Jackson, This Is It, even though I didn't think the songs were as good. But as I said, kind of like from a science or social experiment perspective, it was a very good film. And kudos to Morgan Spurlock. If you're going to, I guess I just wouldn't particularly like any concert movie, but if this is a well done one. If you're going to make a concert movie, this is an excellent roadmap to follow. It's very well done. And as I tweeted last night, I went in thinking I was going to like Harry the most, but Niall really won me over. He was just so wonderful and charming, and worked so hard to be nice to all of his fans, and to be really engaging and talkative to the camera. It was great. And there's a bit that he does in Hollywood costume makeup to disguise himself, and those costume people just do a phenomenal job, and they really make him look different. It was really fun to see. And also, though, he really ran with it. I mean, he could have just stood there in that costume and just let it do all the work, but he was really game, and I thought that was wonderful. So write down below what you think of One Direction. What do you think, why the band is so successful? What do you think of the fact that they admit that they're really just been manufactured and they're okay with that? Write your thoughts down below, and I hope that you'll check out these other episodes right now.